Okay, welcome to this GCSE RS revision video. This is component 3, World Religion Buddhism, Buddhist Beliefs and Teachings. And this is section 4 of 5 videos. And we're going to look at Theravada Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism, and ideas about Sunyata and Buddha nature. So what is Theravada Buddhism? Well, it's referred to as the school of the elders. The word Thera means an elder, often a reference to an elder monk. Theravada Buddhism, many scholars think, is the oldest existing group of Buddhists, although some would dispute that. But some scholars think that elements of Theravada go right back to the early councils, perhaps even to the Buddha himself, although other Buddhists dispute that. In belief and practice, Theravada Buddhism holds to it claims original teachings of Buddhism, but you must, be careful of such claims. As recorded in the Pali Canon, a text which is admittedly favoring of Theravada, but is that because historically those that came to write it became more aligned with increasingly Theravada-like perspectives and views? So in the Tipitaka and in Theravada, there is a strong emphasis on ordination, becoming a monk, a bhikkhu. You renounce your ordinary life and you pursue the 4 stages of the monk's life, the 4 stages of the Arahat path. And this is the way to reach enlightenment in this life, Nibbana and Pari-Nibbana at death, the 2 types of enlightenment for Theravada. Here we see on the right some Theravada monks blamelessly accepting offerings by not ordained but laity Theravada Buddhists. The laity get to make puna or merit, and the Theravada monks, the ordained, get to follow the middle path, eating and living moderately and focusing on meditation. So a key part of Theravada is the belief in the 5 khandhas, or 5 aggregates. And this is really important. Look at this Dhammapada passage 113. The exam board want us to know. Better than 100 years in the life of a person who does not perceive arising and dissolving of the 5 aggregates is the day in the life of one who perceives the arising and the dissolving of the 5 aggregates. So what are the 5 aggregates, or the 5 khandhas? Well, these are what the Buddha's positive teachings are on what makes up a human being and what you are, your personality. So there is this belief in anatta, or no self or soul, in Buddhism. So these 5 aggregates then are what then is a person. These is what works together to allow us to experience and interact with the world. One teaching about the 5 aggregates is that people are made of these 5 parts, and is supported by the Pali Canon, which states the 5 khandhas are bundles or piles of form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. The origin is the word itself means a heap of twigs, or a bundle of twigs. You're a bundle of parts. This means that Buddhists believe that there are these 5 parts that interact with a person and creates your identity, your personality. One teaching about the 5 aggregates is that they deepen a person's experience of suffering. You become aware of not just the physical but the mental side of suffering. The Buddha in the Pali Canon talks about individuals clinging to positive feelings. And the positive feelings the aggregates just produce about existence and life. This, he argues, perpetuates one's suffering as one constantly craves these positive feelings. For example, an individual craves to see beautiful things. What are the 5 aggregates? Well, the first 4 form the last one: consciousness, the awareness a person has of themselves and their surroundings. Well, the first is the rupa, or the form. Is our physical body, which allows us to come into contact with other forms. Arising from that, as it were, is sensation. the idea that of our feelings, our experiences, which arise as a result of our form coming into contact with the world. Perceptions is the process of recognizing things as we come into contact with them. Mental formations then are the kind of feelings, the opinions better, the thoughts, the cognitions, which arise as a result of the perception. And then arising from all four, it's consciousness and the awareness a person has of yourself and your surroundings. So the five aggregates may encourage Buddhists in all kinds of ways. They certainly encourage a Buddhist to adopt the belief in no self, anatta, because you can't believe these unless you believe anatta, no fixed or permanent self. The aggregates negate the existence of a soul. It's the alternative beliefs in a soul. So when a Buddhist dies, they may believe it's their karmic energy, not their soul, which is reborn. What else? The aggregates encourage a Buddhist to engage in Buddhist practice. For example, metta meditation, to ensure their mental formations are positive, producing good karma and consequences or energy. Moving on then to Mahayana Buddhism as the not Southern Buddhism as Theravada is in certain terms of the countries like Sri Lanka and Myanmar and so on. Northern Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism from China and Japan and Tibet and beyond to Korea and so on, is an umbrella term for a great many Buddhist traditions, some which even think they're not even part of Mahayana, Vajrayana Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism. And it later developed out of, it might be claimed, original Theravada tradition, although that's highly contested. It means the greater vehicle, and it's meant to be a put down on Theravada, which was called Hinayana, the lesser vehicle. And it claims, yes, a spiritual path to enlightenment, but this is a different understanding of enlightenment, the possibility of enlightenment, not just for monks and nuns, but for all, and this is a real contrast with Theravada thought. Now, a key teaching is that emerged very early on in the earliest of Mahayana writings, the perfection of wisdom literature, and was promoted most of all by one of the early teachers of Mahayana, a guy called Nagarjuna, is the idea of sunyata, meaning emptiness of all things. All things are empty. All phenomena, all things, not just people, but all things are devoid of any independent existence. Nothing exists by itself. All things come into existence because of other conditions, and therefore nothing exists by itself. Now, this is a difficult teaching to get your head around, but it's really important because it emphasizes the interconnected nature of all things. It's certainly an extension of anatta from just a human as a collection of these five skandhas to everything as a collection of things, or better, a collection of collections. So this teaching that there is an intrinsic emptiness of all phenomena is the most basic belief perhaps of Mahayana. And it's supported by the heart of the perfection of wisdom literature, the Heart Sutra, which you will have studied and reminds you that all of the five aggregates are empty. For example, the rupa, or the form, is emptiness, and emptiness is form. And it says the same about the other aggregates. All of the aggregates are themselves are empty, meaning they're collections and collections of collections. This means that for many Mahayana Buddhists, nothing exists independently, but only in relation to, because of other things. So it's taught by this key guy, Nagarjuna, and his is an understanding that's considered the correct understanding of things like anatta. And such understandings will enable Buddhists to reduce, it's thought, not only their own suffering, but all of our suffering. And it's really important teaching because it, for Mahayana Buddhists, is very important for ethical conduct. If as a Mahayana Buddhist, you're aware of the impact or result of your actions, the interconnection of all things, then, for example, ecology or ecological activists are often Mahayana Buddhists because we are not independent of our environment, but we're highly related to it and to each other. And in fact, to damage the environment, in a way, is to damage ourselves. And this idea of selfish altruism, to help others is to help yourself. To do good to others is to do good to yourself. In the end, if we're all connected. So impacting others is impacting yourself. Now, in terms of Buddhist religious practice, Buddhists engage in a type of vipassana. Now, we normally link vipassana to Theravada meditation, but it's insight meditation, not into greed, hatred, and ignorance, and the desires that are the root of all feeling, but rather the deeper insight reflection into emptiness. Everything is empty, and you would meditate on the emptiness of all things. The flower is full, but the flower is empty, Thich Nhat Hanh would say, and he'd ask you to meditate on how the universe is in a single flower. Or can you see the cloud in the piece of paper, to kind of think through the interconnectedness of all things. And we find the earliest development of this perhaps in the Heart Sutra. Its concept is discussed and formulated. And a last idea that's really, really, really important, and it's a slightly different idea of enlightenment. So for early Buddhists, enlightenment meant vowing to return each rebirth to the world to help other people. As a bodhisattva, a bodhisattva vows to return. We'll look at that more in a minute. But another idea of enlightenment that emerged in about the 4th century and became very important, first of all in Tibetan Buddhism, then later in Zen Buddhism, is the idea of Buddha nature, or the original word Tathagata Garbha. What does it mean? It means that all beings are endowed with an intrinsic Buddha nature, something that Theravada reject. We have to achieve Nibbana. We don't already have it. And the tendency to be a Buddha is within all of us. It's seen in various analogies of seed, later on the analogy of an embryo Buddha within all of us, as you can see in the picture, is one that was developed. Our Buddha nature is covered by the 3 poisons, greed, hatred, and ignorance, like mud covering the diamond. Tibetan Buddhism has this diamond sutra. You've got to polish up the diamond, take the mud off, the 3 poisons, and then we can discover our Buddha nature, our clear and primary consciousness. It's described as a luminous awareness, a deep mind is the idea. So Mahayana Buddhists tend to work on uncovering and nurturing this seed of enlightenment to reach their full spiritual potential. So what they're aiming for is Buddhahood. Now, to achieve Buddhahood is to discover your Buddha nature. It's the process whereby someone achieves enlightenment, becomes a Buddha. You discover your Buddha nature. And the second, more Tibetan Zen kind of type of Buddhist Mahayana Buddhist understanding of enlightenment. And so again, our Buddha nature is this idea that we all have this potential, this Buddha potential in all of us. In turn, this goes back to the Trikhiya doctrine, that there is this 3-body doctrine of the historical Buddha, the heavenly Buddha, and the truth Buddha of all things. So one important teaching about Buddha nature is that it applies to everyone. Various Mahayana sutras, for example, the Nirvana Sutra, support this. It says, all sentient beings have Buddha nature. Now, this is a Mahayana Sutra, not a Theravada Tipitaka Sutra. This means that Buddhists suggest that everyone has the potential to become a Buddha, to achieve, eventually, perhaps Buddhahood. One teaching about Buddha nature is that it's obscured, it's hidden from understanding. And in Zen Buddhists, the Zen Buddhist Huyang, one of the early important Zen Buddhists, perhaps the founder in China of what would become Japanese Zen Buddhism, says, like the moon is obscured by clouds, Buddhahood is obscured by ignorance. When this cloud drops away, the moon, Buddhahood, is revealed, or we achieve it. So Buddhahood's the aim, the goal. Buddha nature is the potential that we have within us, and the process of gaining Buddhahood is what Mahayana meditation and other things encourage. And so, yes, Buddha nature teaching would encourage Buddhists to engage in the kind of Buddhist practice of meditation. Meditation is one of the 6 perfections that are really important to develop. It is it helps you remove the distractions preventing you from seeing your primordial awareness, your true mind, your luminous mind, your true nature, that is your Buddha nature, and thus achieve Buddhahood. But also encourage you to act with generosity, giving time, food, clothes, money to others to help others. This generosity is also one of the 6 perfections, the 6 virtues. And being generous helps reduce and remove suffering. And after all, if you lessen and free the suffering of others, you lessen and free your own suffering. So again, stop the video, have a go at the topic tests, have a go at the Quizlets, learning the vocabulary and the quotation, have a read of the model essay answers on the website, and practice some of them yourself. This is video 4 of 5 Buddhist beliefs and teachings revision.